everyone, it's Anna from Sprint Tax here. Whether you are a J1 here in Ocean City in Maryland or anywhere across the US, there's a few key things you need to be aware of from a tax perspective. The first thing is around residency for tax purposes. J1 visa holders are typically considered non-residents for tax purposes unless you've been here long enough to be deemed a resident for tax purposes. J1s on summer work travels, interns, trainees, camp counsellors, au pairs, researchers, scholars, for example, you're generally given 2 calendar years of non-resident status out of the last 6 calendar years preceding the current year in the US. And then if you've been in the US for longer than that 2-year period, you're generally going to start counting your days towards the substantial presence test. And if you've been here for longer than 183 days through a calculation over the last 3 years, you may be deemed a resident for tax purposes. Another key thing is that generally you're not taxed in the same way of your US citizen or resident colleagues. You're generally taxed differently. You're not eligible to claim the standard deduction unless you're an Indian student, trainee, or business apprentice. And you're generally taxed on your income from the very first dollar. Another key thing is around FICA taxes. If you're a non-resident on a J1 visa, you should not be paying FICA. If you do have FICA withheld incorrectly, you should reach out to your employer to request a FICA refund from them. And if they refuse, you can apply for a FICA refund with the IRS using Form 843 and 8316. Other key pieces then would be around your pre-employment forms. You may be asked to provide your employer with a W-4 form. And if you're a non-resident alien for tax purposes, that needs to be completed in a certain type of way. For example, under Section 4C, you'll need to outline that you are an NRA, signifying that you're a non-resident alien, and you cannot claim the same deductions and credits that resident aliens can. Another form could be Form 8233, if you were tax-duty eligible on wages, for example, or perhaps Form W-8Ben, if you maybe had taxable scholarships or they wanted to certify your foreign status. Then when you get to the end of the year, depending on your income, you may receive a W-2 to report your taxable wages. You may receive a 1040 if you had tax-duty exempt income or a taxable scholarship or stipend, prize or award, for example. And if you receive any income in the US as a non-resident for tax purposes, you will trigger a federal filing obligation, which will typically be Form 1040-NR for non-residents. And then you may have state tax filing requirements depending on the state and depending on your circumstances. And the tax filing deadline will always stand at April 15th of the following tax year.